Seeds of the Fall, the Divine Rights of Kings.
Charles Murray's doctrine of genetic and biological inferiority is completely contrary to the large majority of social science research.
In the previous segment, we discussed how the selfish philosophy of objectivism had taken root in modern conservatism, and how it was corrupting our national character and destroying our sense of community. Before we can introduce objectivism and its roots, we have to lay a historical foundation for its appearance. Despotic rulers have always favored those writers through the ages that wrote of the divine rights of the ruling classes. They especially favored using some perceived threat as a weapon so that the people would look to the king to deliver them. It was Thomas Malthus who predicted that mass starvation was the lot of all mankind if population growth was not controlled. A theory largely accepted to this day, regardless of the explosion of agricultural technologies since his time. Sincere scientist Alfred Russel Wallace's theory of natural selection unlocked the mysteries of why some animal communities, like giraffes, thrive and others die off. But Herbert Spencer distorted natural selection, renaming it survival of the fittest, instilling fear in the public of the immigrants among them. Friedrich Nietzsche took Spencer's theory a step further, declaring that since God was dead, morality was meaningless, and the overman would rise to fill the void. Madison Grant declared that white culture proved that white men were the overmen, and that their future required their white bloodlines be kept clean of immigrant blood. Stoddard focused his attention on the underman, or the non-white immigrant races that needed to be sterilized for the sake of the rise of the overmen of the white races. Under the guise of science, Davenport pioneered eugenics research, sterilization of perceived inferiors, and worked with the Nazis to stamp out the perceived underman threat. But his legacy included the Nazi Holocaust. Ayn Rand rose after the Nazi Holocaust killed millions and rebranded the overman philosophy. She recast her overmen as sympathetic creative figures and started the Objectivism movement. Jack Welch following the overman script with his rank and yank staffing methods at GE and encouraged others to adopt them. His methods led to the downfall of Enron and then GE years later. More honest than most, Charles Murray said the quiet part out loud. Some white men were simply smarter than other people and deserved a larger part of the pie, if not the whole pie altogether. Steve Bannon, former President Trump's last campaign manager, simply believes that we need to go back to a system of overman kings and underman serfs. His movement plans to set up dictatorships throughout the Western world to accomplish this. This is all very well and good, of course, but there is that little matter of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights that stand in the way of wealth hegemony, not to mention that constant pain of representative government. President George W. Bush said, "If this were a dictatorship, it would be a heck of a lot easier, as long as I'm the dictator." The challenge, of course, is, how do you convince a free people to go back into the cage that enslaved them? You attack the idea of a shared community and equate it with communism, because a true community of people might band together to resist the rise of future dictators and tyrants. You attack the very idea of duty and sacrifice, since they relate to serving the larger community. Because men and women have banded together in the past to overthrow kings and oligarchs. And you attack the very idea of reverence for God, because it is impossible to serve both God and mammon. Because Isaiah told us that Jesus came to aid the poor, give sight to the blind, and to set the prisoners free, which makes true Christianity the greatest threat that the tyrant will ever face. In Objectivism, all morality is biased to benefit the rich and powerful producer class. Most other classes are considered either parasites or looters.